Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the podcast. There's something that has been pressing on me, right? It's just been pressing on my soul. And it's the comparison of like 10 years ago, right, to who I am now. I just turned 26, right? And to me, life is like a video game. I'm a nerd, okay? So bear with me here. Life is like a video game, right? Every single year, you should be leveling up. You should be leveling up in some capacity, right? And I think about me 10 years ago and realize how much I've actually leveled up. And I feel like a lot of times, like when we look back and when we compare ourselves to like previous versions of ourselves, we live with each other every single freaking day, right? We see the progress. But it's kind of like how other people perceive you differently than you do, right? Like you could take this as an example, okay? You could look at the mirror and you could see Shrek, right? You wake up in the morning, you feel like you look like Shrek. You know, you walk up into the mirror and you're like, dang, I look rough today, right? I look terrible. I look horrible. But then somebody else will see you that same day. You'll go through the drive-through line and the girl at the drive-through says, wow, you're really pretty, right? And it brightens your whole mood because you're like, holy shit. You think I'm pretty? I think I look like a freaking troll right now. I think I look like I run the bridge, right? I'm not just under the bridge. I run the bridge. That bridge is mine. I am the troll bridge, right? But then somebody goes and changes your opinion about yourself, right? And I think one of the biggest problems in life is that we judge ourselves and we compare ourselves more than we probably should, right? Because the way that you see yourself is not like how other people see you. The same thing with progression, right? When you're progressing in life, you live with yourself every single day. So you might not see the growth and you might not see how far you have come, but other people will. Other people will see it. And I realize we all need to be better at having some grace. You know, we need to have grace for ourselves because we are doing better than we thought we were. You know, I'm sure like you guys have probably felt that way too before, where you're like, man, you know, like I'm just not doing enough and I'm not progressing far enough and fast enough and blah, 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 blah. But I promise you are. You know, just because you don't automatically see progression doesn't mean it's not happening behind the scenes. So my name is Caitlin. You can call me Kate. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm a raging homosexual, and I'm passionate about life, music, and human connection. This is my podcast where I talk about anything and everything, and it's called Dude, What Was I Talking About? Speaking of that, right? Speaking of progression and stuff. Also, I should add a little jingle, like, dude, what was I talking about? And it's like, doodle-doo. I don't know. Anyway, ADHD. But speaking of comparison, right, and progression and all these things, I don't typically have a problem with comparing myself to other people. At least I don't think I do until I do, right? Like, for an example, like one of my ex-girlfriends, right? Her girlfriend's freaking hot. I'm like, damn, that girl's way prettier than me. No way she's funnier than me. That's impossible. That could never happen. But I'm like, man, she's hotter than me. She's naturally hot. I have to like, you know, try to sleep for 16 hours just to look decent for a day. You know, I start comparing myself like a motherfucker to people like that. And I'm like, I know it's bad and I know it's toxic and I, you know, really shouldn't care about that stuff because it's trivial and it doesn't matter in the long run, right? But I do it still. I'm like, damn, she's so much cooler than me. She's taller than me. Her hair looks softer than mine. How the fuck is it softer? I've changed my shampoo and conditioner 16 times. I don't know why the hell it's not working. You know? And I get into this bad habit of comparing myself to, you know, people like that. Or sometimes I'll be like on TikTok or like Instagram, right? And I'll see a fine ass masculine lesbian, you know? And I'm like, fuck, I wish I looked like her. And it sucks, right? Because it's not like I'm attracted to them types, you know? But I see them and I'm like, damn it. I wish that was me. I wish that was me. I wish I was that buff. I wish I was that tall. I wish I had hair like that. I wish I could I wish I had money like that, XYZ, right? And it just adds on top of each other, So sometimes I like to take a step back and be like, Caitlin, you're being ridiculous. You're being crazy, Because I know that maybe I'm not the hottest in the world. Maybe I'm not the sexiest, maybe I'm just your average Joe or your average Jack, you know? But I know what I got and I know what I offer, And that's not in a cocky way. That's just in a confident way that I know that I have things that other people don't have. I might see her picture on, fucking TikTok or something and wish I looked like that girl, but that girl probably wishes that she had the heart that I had. She probably wishes she had the compassion I have. She probably wishes she was funny like I am. So the point being is don't compare yourself to other people. I think that your only competition in life is you. You are the competition. You are the one that you have to beat, right? But I feel like it's human nature. I feel like we all do it. Definitely. I know I'll talk to my friends, and they'll say like, oh, like this girl is so pretty. I wish I looked like her. And I'm like, I think that same way. But I think about, masked lesbians. I'm like, fuck, she's hot. Damn it. Shoot. Like, why can't I look like that? But at the same time, I'm like, you never know what's going on in someone else's head, There was this point in time. Let me tell you all a little story. That's what I like to do. I like to tell stories. Let me tell you guys a story. One time, I was dating this girl, okay? And I had this friend. She was like a butch lesbian, and she was dating this other girl, right? And we were all friends. We were like mutually all friends, right? And I saw that girl, and I was like, or I saw the butch one. I gotta, specify. Let's call her, what should I call her? Because I don't want to use her real name. Let's call her Steph. It's not even close. So Steph, right? Tall, buff, pulled any woman that she wanted in the world. Any woman that she wanted, she could have her. Okay? And I looked at Steph and I was like, fuck. How does she do it? And why couldn't that have been me? Why couldn't I have been blessed? Why couldn't I have been blessed like that to look like Steph and act like Steph? You know what I'm saying? And I was jealous of her, low-key. And I was also like, damn, she could take my girlfriend in 2 seconds. Like, she just has to, look at my girlfriend a certain way, and she could probably have her, right? Because I'm a little bit down on myself, and I hate to say that because it kind of ruins my street cred, right? But I get down on myself. I really don't think I'm much to write home about a lot of the time. But this puts it into perspective for you. So I was like, damn, Steph could take my chick. Like, she could have it all. She could run the planet. She could run the universe of lesbians. Right? And I was super jealous of her. Of course, I would never say that. I'm never going to admit that except on a podcast or in my music, because these are my outlets, right? My podcast is my outlet. My music is my outlet. Those are the only places that I would confidently be like, yeah, I get jealous sometimes. Because in person, in real life, nah, never. Me could never be me. Jealousy, never, right? I keep everything to myself when it comes to anything that's outside of my art, right? So I never told nobody I was jealous of her, ever. Well, not ever, but for a while, for a long time, I never told anybody. I was like, you know what, this is information that nobody has to know because it will make me look weak, right? It'll make me look less than. And in my head, I already look less than because she's so much hotter than I am, right? Well, years later, right, she ended up breaking that other friend's heart. And I chose the other friend because the other friend was in the right and Steph was in the wrong, right? And so then I hated Steph. Then she was my arch enemy, right? And I decided I didn't like Steph anymore. And I was talking to Steph's ex-girlfriend, the one that she, whose heart she broke. I was talking to her. And she's like, and at this point, me and the other girl had broken up also. Imagine that, right? But me and Steph's ex stayed friends, right? So me and Steph's ex, we were hanging out and we were having, Steph's ex is hard to say. Why did I name her Steph? Anyway, we were hanging out one day and she looked at me and she's like, I just think it's crazy because Steph was so jealous of you. And I was taken aback. I was flabbergasted. My flabbers were gasted. I was like, what the fuck did you just say? No. So I looked at her and I was like, what do you mean Steph was jealous of me? And she said, yeah, Steph always said she was jealous of you. And I said, why? She's so much taller and stronger and hotter. How? And she said, well, she said that she was jealous that people like you. You're personable. You make friends easy. You get girlfriends easy. Everything's so easy for you. And for her, she struggled. And I was like, in what universe does that girl struggle to get a girlfriend? It got me fucking twisted. But I took a step back and I was like, oh shit, no way. And I told Steph Sex, I was like, that's crazy because I was always jealous of her. And she's like, well, she said she was jealous of you because you're compassionate. Because women love you. Like she said, women don't just like you for sex. They like you because of who you are. And she said she was jealous of that because she felt like women only wanted her for physical reasons, but they didn't want anything to do with her as a person. And I was like, damn. So you really just never know. You never know what other people are going through. So the next time you're scrolling on TikTok or you're scrolling on Instagram or you're just sitting there doom scrolling or you're stalking your girlfriend or your ex-girlfriend's new girlfriend, right? Think to yourself. This is also a gentle reminder for myself, right? But think to yourself, be like, damn, remember the Kate and Steph situation. Remember that, anytime you see someone on TikTok or Instagram and it looks like their life is completely perfect and just unfazed and everything's going well for them, just remember that is one little picture of a whole photo album, right? You're missing the whole story. You're missing the whole plot at that point. Because social media, we all put our best foot. Maybe not me. To be honest, I'm a little unhinged on social media, right? But most people, I would say like 99% of the population only puts their best foot forward on social media. So, of course, they're going to show the cars. They're going to show the money. They're going to show them traveling. But they're not going to show you them crying in the Benz or drinking themselves to sleep every night or chasing lust because they can't find real love. They won't show you, they'll never show you like the actual hardships that they're going through. They're only going to show you the highlight reel of everything good that's happening. Because we all want to get on social media and flex. Social media is fake. It's fake as fuck. You could be in the trenches. You could be going through the worst moment of your life. You could be going through the worst breakup. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to post a selfie with some money. You're going to post you on a beach drinking a margarita. You're not going to show anybody that you're struggling. No one's going to do that. No one's going to do that. So anytime you see someone living their best life on Instagram, whatever, just know that's probably not the full story. And even if you see someone, you're like, fuck, they're hotter than me. That doesn't mean that they're better than you. That doesn't mean that they're as compassionate as you are. That doesn't mean that they have the same sense of humor that you do. It doesn't mean that they have anything that you don't have, And honestly, I've been thinking a lot, right? Because I've gotten really into finances. And any like finance guy or girl that you watch on YouTube or anything or listen to their podcast, a big thing that they talk about is like, what's your rich life, right? You'll hear that a lot when you get into finances. What's your rich life? For some people, it's billions of dollars and a yacht and traveling the world, right? For some people, it's having a house that you own with people that you love in a modest little farmland, raising some cows. And you got to think about that. And then you got to strive to do that, So you don't see the progression, but as long as you're striving towards something, you're progressing as you go. You don't see the progression, but I promise you, everybody else does. Everybody else does. They're like, damn, look at Caitlin getting her shit together. She used to be a crash out. She used to be drunk every weekend. Now she hardly drinks, Like, you have to get to a point where you have grace with yourself, but also you're honest with yourself and you're like, hey, I may not be where I want to be. I may not have reached my rich life, but I'm working towards it and I'm striving for better. And My only competition in life, regardless of what social media tells you, regardless of what Facebook and Instagram and TikTok show you, your only competition in life is yourself. You know? I feel like me, especially, right? Well, not especially, because I'm sure you guys are probably just as bad as me about it. But my biggest flaw and my biggest problem is that I'm very self-critical and I'm constantly pushing myself almost to the brink. You know what I mean? Like this girl that I went on a date with or whatever. She was like, I like how ambitious you are and how you have like goals and how you're always like trying to be a better person. And I was like, well, thank you for for noticing that, for one. And for two, it's kind of my biggest downfall in life though, because instead of just enjoying the ride, I'm thinking about my next destination. I'm never thinking right now. I'm always thinking ahead. And that sometimes is my biggest downfall, you know? Even when I get into like new relationships, right? I'm like, well, she'll probably like find some 6'5", hot ass, masculine lesbian with bigger biceps and a cooler personality than me and leave me. And then I have to stop myself and I'm like, dude, stop doing that. Stop talking down on yourself, dog. Like you got a lot going for you at the age that you're at currently. And not only that, but I want to keep getting better. I want to level up. I already beat the Caitlin that was 16. I beat the Caitlin that was 21. I beat the Caitlin that was 25. I'm already doing much better than I was like even a year ago. And so if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, you know, like that cheesy quote, comparison is the thief of joy. It's true. Don't compare yourself to nobody. You see that picture on social media, you know what you do? You like it and you scroll. Because you don't know the full story. They could be struggling. You could be in a better spot than they are. But they're not going to show you that on social media. They're not going to show you all of that shit. They're just going to show you their best fucking foot. It's social media. It's not real. That's why I like human connections and I like real conversations, you know? Like, let's go sit on a rock somewhere and like talk about everything. Let's lay it all out on the table. You know, let's talk about your fears, your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, where you thought you'd be versus where you are, which is another thing that I wanted to do an episode on. I'm not gonna put it in this episode because this one's more about comparison. Because I just realized that I've gotten in a bad habit of comparing myself to other people when I'm doing the damn thing. All right, I'm way farther ahead than I used to be. And if you would have told Caitlin at 16 that this is what she'd be doing, that she'd be in school and that she'd be, you know, working towards career progression and working towards like management, higher up management, operations management, she would have been like, nah, bruh, that sounds too smart for me. Like, nah. If you would have told Caitlin that personal finance would become her biggest passion in life, she would have been like, nah, you know? So I've already came to a certain point where I'm like, man, I'm already doing better than I used to do, you know? So anytime you start to compare yourself or anytime you start to be down on yourself or hate on yourself, don't do that shit, man. Somewhere out in the universe, there is a Steph who wishes she was you. You might think you wish you were her, but I promise she wishes that she was you. Because comparison is healthy, it's normal, it's human nature. You know, I think it is healthy to compare yourself to other people. People are probably like, whoa, you guys probably listen to that and be like, what, healthy? Kate, what the fuck are you talking about? But it is kind of healthy, you know? It's healthy to not think that you're the shit. Otherwise, you end up looking like Donald Trump or something, where you just think that you're above all and you can say and do whatever. So I think it is good, actually, and I think it is healthy to compare. It's just unhealthy when you get to a point of obsession about it. But, you know, if the thoughts creep in, the thoughts creep in. There was an old lady at my old church, right? And she gave me a really solid quote. She said, listen, you can't control the thoughts that pop into your head, but you can control how long they stay there. And I love that, you know? So the minute you get a thought like, I should have done this, or I should have done better, or I should have, stop yourself. Those are your own thoughts. You have control over your own thoughts. That's like the coolest thing about thinking, bro. is you have control over your own thoughts. You know, even me with my ADHD, I have control over my own thoughts. There might be 60 tabs open and 60 thoughts, but I have control of which ones I keep in, you know, and I'm definitely keeping the one that's playing the random jukebox because that's a vibe. And I'm definitely keeping the deep philosophical side. And I'm keeping the deep goofy thoughts up in there too. But the thoughts that I'm not going to keep are ones that make me self-doubt and self-hate. So anyway, thank you guys for listening to my TED Talk. Like, at this point, this is just me, like, spilling my soul, bro. I think next week we'll do, like, maybe something lighter. I don't know. Maybe do some, like, jokes. Knock jokes. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway. Dude, what was I talking about?
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.